What a wonderful tribute to Alan to see you all here. My name is John Swanson. Alan and I worked together for many years. And so I feel I'm a longtime colleague of his. And so I'm honored to be with you here today to help facilitate this service. And now if you will rise for presentation of the colors. Please be seated. The United States Forest Service is divided into 9 geographically based regions. The region we're in right here is the Pacific Southwest region, also known as Region 5. It covers California, Hawaii, some parts of Nevada, and some smaller Pacific islands. The top official of each region is titled the Regional Forester. Alan's legacy is also a geographically broad one, from shore to shore and around the world. With us today to tell us about Alan's legacy is Region 5's Regional Forester, Jennifer Eberlein.
Alan Wesley Johnson was born on March 24, 1953 in Glendale, California. He was raised in nearby Covina in Los Angeles County. Alan is the son of Carl Wesley Johnson and Margaret Johnson. He graduated from Northview High School in Covina and then earned an associate degree in forestry at Mount San Antonio College. A career wildland firefighter, Alan spent nearly 4 decades working for the U.S. Forest Service, all here in California. His career began in the early 1970s as a temporary firefighter at Mount Baldy on the Angeles National Forest. After a few seasons, Alan landed his first permanent Forest Service position, and with this new job security, Alan asked the love of his life, Martha, to marry him. Alan and Martha were married on March 31st, 1975, and soon after they moved south to the Cleveland National Forest. Alan held a number of positions on the Cleveland. He was a fire engine operator and later a foreman with the El Carrizo Hotshots. Back then, Forest Service engines often responded to the neighboring communities for both structure fires and medical assistance. Early on, Alan and his captain responded to a call where a gentleman had collapsed and was non-responsive. The captain asked Alan if he was trained in CPR, and Alan said, "No, but just tell me what to do." Alan received a 2-minute crash course in mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, and together, Alan and the captain successfully applied this new skill set. While on the Cleveland, Alan and Martha made their home on a small ranch property in the Temescal Valley at the base of the Gavilan Hills between Corona and Lake Elsinore. Somewhat remote, access was an unpaved road through a fire-prone area. Fuels management and evacuation readiness were skill sets Alan and Martha mastered early. On the property, they raised a variety of animals and were known to invite their Forest Service family over to enjoy the animals and to pick fruit off their numerous fruit trees. Alan was always proud of his collection of snakes. His favorite was a rosy boa that was super friendly to all guests. In the early 1990s, Alan came to the Groveland Ranger District here on the Stanislaus. He held a number of positions, learning and applying skills in fire prevention, fuels management, and fire suppression. He mentored young firefighters, often being referred to them as their fire dad. Alan was a strong leader, establishing many strong relationships within the agency, and especially with cooperators and in the community. Nearly 20 years later, Alan retired from the Forest Service after serving as the District Fire Management Officer on the district for several years. Alan and Martha made their Stanislaus home in the small community of Groveland, California. Alan was a self-proclaimed grill master, often inviting employees and friends over for barbecues and to enjoy the bounty of the garden. Alan's presence in the community over the years varied: community member, friend, firefighter, fire prevention officer, and even Smokey Bear. To date, Alan and Martha's Groveland home has been within a wildfire evacuation zone 4 times. And each time, Alan was elsewhere on a fire assignment. Alan would provide reassurance from afar, often saying, "Don't worry, the fire will never get to the house, Martha." He intimately knew the local landscape, the roads, the fuel breaks, the fuel conditions. Keeping an eye on weather and fire behavior, he would correctly predict where they would catch this one. Martha, on the other hand, simply followed the directions and evacuated. Alan was a leader in the California Incident Management Team structure before and after his retirement. He served as the incident commander for the South Central Interagency Incident Management Team prior to his 2010 retirement, and after retirement, he served as a liaison officer for the California Incident Management Team number 14. He was always passionate about his life's work. He continued to train and mentor others. He also continued his lifelong commitment to tirelessly guide, support, and advocate for the creation of collaborative, fire-adapted communities while protecting watersheds and wildland-urban interface areas within the Sierras. This work was largely accomplished through SWIFT, the Southwest Interface Team, as well as through local fire-safe councils. Alan's work in the Sierra foothills will live on. When it came time to taking a break from firefighting, Alan was pretty serious about fishing and gardening, winning numerous competitions from both hobbies. He was also an avid bird watcher, a Dodgers fan, and thoroughly enjoyed a good beer. Longtime Groveland resident, career wildland firefighter Alan Wesley Johnson passed away on August 31st, 2021, at the age of 68, while assigned to the French Fire near Kernville, California. Alan is survived by his loving wife of 46 years, Martha, brothers, Steve and Raymond, nephews, Jim, John, Bradley, and Jeremiah, niece, Ashley, and each of their respective families, and 6 amazing exchange students he and his wife hosted throughout the years. Alan also leaves behind a multitude of people who considered him a friend, a mentor, and a teacher. He was a kind, caring, compassionate man, loved by many. He will be greatly missed by family, friends, community acquaintances, coworkers, and firefighters from around the globe.
We have a number of folks here who want to share reflections and remembrances about Alan. But we can quickly get mired in fire speak. And so for those of you that fire is not your whole world, let me briefly provide some clarification of terms that you probably will be hearing. Incidents. These are some kind of risky event. It could be a wildland fire, a structure fire, a car accident, a hurricane, a plane crash, a space shuttle disaster, or a terrorist attack. An incident management team is deployed to manage and mitigate these incidents, these risks. These teams are usually interagency teams made up of personnel from local, state, and federal fire agencies. That's handy because incidents usually impact several jurisdictions, and no agency can do it all by itself anymore. And finally, the talent to manage these incidents is found at all jurisdictional levels. Each incident management team is headed by an incident commander, or IC. There's only one incident commander on each incident. You may hear mention of other positions within the team, like operations section chief, logistics section chief, division supervisor, and so forth. They are all key players on the management team, headed by the IC. We may hear mention of national Type 1 interagency incident management teams and regional Type 2 interagency incident management teams. Theoretically, the Type 1 teams have the most experience and are tasked with handling the most complex incidents anywhere in the nation. And theoretically, the Type 2 teams manage less but still complex incidents within their geographic region. But if you listen carefully to our next presenters, I think you're going to hear some things that will challenge that simple dichotomy. Not that they'll directly challenge it, but some of the incidents they mention may make you think, whoa, that's not as clear-cut as I thought. Within California, there are a number of regional Type 2 incident management teams. One of the teams that Alan was most closely associated with is the South Central Sierra Interagency Incident Management Team, also known as Team 14. One of the key members of that team is Mike Botto, former chief of the City of Oakdale Fire Department, and he has some things he'd like to mention.
Hello to Alan's family, friends, members of the Fire Service and Forest Service community. This presentation is a collaborative effort of 4 friends of Alan's: Mark McDowell, Darren Mills, David Cooper, and myself. Each of us had the opportunity in life to meet, work with, and develop a long-term friendship with Fire Management Officer Johnson, Interagency Incident Management Team Incident Commander Johnson, and most importantly, our friend Alan Johnson. We were challenged with presenting here today, extending tribute to our friend with honor, respect, and gratitude. The challenge was not to reflect on Alan's life, but to be strong enough to stand before you and say goodbye to a trusted friend whom we miss dearly. To say we are devastated, shocked, and saddened is an understatement. Alan's departure met us all too soon, and it is difficult to accept the loss. As an example, and to demonstrate the respect I have for Alan, let me proclaim that I am a longtime San Francisco Giants fan. But today, and for Alan, I'm all in a Dodgers fan. In an effort to define Alan, we needed to list some of his attributes. Those include skilled, qualified, knowledgeable, professional, a counselor, an instructor, a leader, a mentor. But the greatest contributions to society: honorable, honest, caring, compassionate, giving, trustworthy, a confident, fisherman, vegetable gardener, and beer brew master. Most importantly, he was a partner and husband of 46 years to Martha, a brother, brother-in-law, a son-in-law, an uncle, and not just an uncle, but a really good uncle, and a dear friend to so many. My personal experience on the team was when Alan selected my application to join. This was a bit of surprise as my background was a firefighter in a small single-station department on flat ground in the Central Valley. The learning curve was vertical for me, and Alan understood that. He provided support and guidance to help me to progress. I could have used a bit more help in finding my way back home, though. I was doing okay at my new career adventure, or at least I thought so, when Alan approached me. I did not like that look on his face. He stated I needed to step deeper, actually higher, into the division assignment and out of my comfort zone of structure protection, meaning, see that hill? That's where your division is. The first incident was a small 70-acre fire, seemed a bit bigger at first, and the mountain was steep. This fire was on the Stanislaus, and Mark McDowell, who was mentoring me, accompanied me on this division assignment. We both had an Epic Plus workout that day. In fact, we ended it by creating a 2-blade wide fire break using the seat of our pants as we slid down the hill towards base camp. Alan recognized weaknesses and the need for improvements. Then he implemented opportunities and encouraged growth to change those weaknesses into strengths. That was just one of the ways Alan continued to make others better, and better we are because of Alan. Alan earned and held the respect of his associates and colleagues. He possessed command presence, and although he often spoke softly, he was heard loudly. Several of us extended our team relationship to that of vacations and travel trips together, including our wives. We traveled to Costa Rica, Mexico, Antigua, Hawaii, and all of us together on a cruise or two. On one cruise trip to Mexico, Alan, Darren, and I signed up for a fishing excursion, a shore-based adventure sponsored by the cruise line. Well, we arrived in port, and the cruise line canceled our trip to unfavorable weather conditions. Well, we wanted to go fishing. We felt the weather did not look so bad. Now, remind you, we started the day off with a beer or two. So we negotiated a deal on shore with a local influential businessman who provided us with a picture of a near-new 40-foot luxury fishing vessel, complete with bar service. We could not get the money out of our wallets fast enough. So they guided us to a pickup spot where we stepped into a well-used golf cart-type ride, first clue. Then we traveled to what should have been a pier to what in reality was a dirt bank and observed this 40-foot luxury fishing vessel to be a 30-foot tuna boat complete with plastic Kmart patio chairs. Movable, of course. Another clue. So the three of us walked the plank, literally a wooden plank. We all got on and looked at ourselves in disgust. How could three so-called professionals actually be standing on this tuna boat heading out to sea in another country, possibly never to be seen or heard from again? Well, we fished and we made it back without catching anything. We ended up realizing we were the fish. We had exciting adventures wherever we went. My wife and I had an annual camping trip to Pinecrest. Martha and Alan occasionally joined us and brought their nephews. Alan, as always, was prepared. He had activities for the kids every day. They made tie-dye t-shirts, sand candles, switchblade knives, that caused a bit of the panic for the mothers, and camel wallets. The man was a treasure, and all the kids adored him. Parents too, as it gave us all a break. Alan and Martha hosted 6 exchange students at their home over the years and then made a trip to visit them in Norway, Germany, France, and Croatia. Alan's goal, which he accomplished on that trip, was to fish and drink beer in every country. Alan had a special gift, the gift of his friendship, which he freely shared with all of us and so many others. We will always remember and cherish sitting by the campfire, drinking a beer, smoking a cigar, all the while sharing stories and creating memories. Martha, your loss is our loss. Your heartbreak is our heartbreak. And our lives have forever been impacted by the association with Alan. Our paths crossed in the travels through life, and we have all truly been blessed with the time we've spent together. We are honored to call Alan our friend. We are proud of Alan and his life accomplishments. We should all strive to follow our role model, mentor, and friend's path. Martha, we will always be here for you, and we offer our deepest sympathy and condolences. You and our community have lost a good friend. Alan, you will forever be in our thoughts, minds, and hearts. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to honor our friend.
David Cooper is another member of the South Central Sierra Interagency Incident Management Team and a retired District Fire Management Officer from the Sierra National Forest. David?
I first got acquainted with Alan in 2001 as a member of the South Central Sierra Incident Management Team. Alan was the Operations Section Chief, the Ops, and I was a Division Supervisor. Back then, I knew Alan as the grumpy guy who worked out of his truck with his feet up on the dash and would growl at you when you bothered him in some way or other. It was about that same time that I watched Alan catch a 15-pound steelhead from the Klamath River during his lunch break. This was my introduction to Alan. The next year, I stepped up as ops trainee, and Alan became one of my mentors and trainers. After a couple of years, I was qualified as ops, and Alan became the team's deputy incident commander under Tom Rios. In 2005, Alan became the incident commander. Later that year, we were assigned to Hurricane Katrina in Mississippi. Alan asked me to be his deputy for that assignment. The beginning of 2006, I was promoted to the District Fire Management Officer on the Sierra, and Alan came to me and said, well, you have a second promotion coming. You are now my Deputy Incident Commander. Says after Alan retired, I stepped up as Incident Commander. Alan came back later on and be as our liaison officer from the team. And when I retired in 2006, I came in behind with Alan and part of the liaison shop and became liaison officer. The joke on the team was they called it the IC Boneyard. One of the things I think a few people probably don't know about Alan, he was also a qualified Type 2 logistics chief. That was not one of the paths that I choose to follow Alan down. This is my story in relationship with Alan and the team without all the details. Past and present leaderships all have similar stories. Alan was their mentor. They learned from his leadership and his guidance, and with his help, developed our confidence. His mentorship brought all of us to where we are today. I told Martha the other day that Alan drove me crazy at times, but I still loved him. We were on a fire in Montana one year in the Powder River area, and the forest had gathered up several assortment of trailers for us to work out of. The ICs was three of us. Darren Mills was our trainee, and we were in a 24-foot long travel trailer, and it was pretty tight. About that time, Alan had acquired a self-standing hammock with iPod speakers in the headrest. And so Alan commenced to set that up inside that trailer. Well, not only with that, he would, anytime anybody walked by the trailer, he would invite them in to try out his hammock and to listen to music. So there was a few of us still had work to do, IAPs, incident action plans, narratives, things like that. Anyway, the music is a completely another story. He loved bringing people into the trailer to play a game he called Name That Tune, or to have them come up with a song that he may have it to see if he had it within his catalog of music or not, and most of the time he always won. Team members and others who worked with us appreciated this side of Alan, a softer side, and were impressed with his knowledge of music. At this time, can I get South Central Sierra past and present members? Can you please stand for me? And along with that, can I also have California Incident Management Team 12? Can you please stand with us? The folks we see standing have spent 12 to 16 hours a day a week to 3 weeks at a time, 4 to 5 times a year with Alan. Some, like myself, have worked with Alan for over 20 years in incident management. We have traveled from the Mexican border to the Canadian border, east to the Gulf Coast. We have sweat together, froze together, been soaked by rain, weathered lightning storms, whipped by strong winds, and choked on smoked. We have laughed, cried, and cursed together with Alan. When you spend so much time and go through so much, you become like a family. You know what their likes are: Dodgers, whole milk, what makes them tick, and you're there to support each other. We have made great accomplishments, and we've also got our butts kicked a time or two with Alan. Alan has made an impact on our lives, and he will be greatly missed. When Alan was IC, every day we'd have what we called our command and general staff meeting, and that's the upper management of an incident management team. And also during our briefings when we would plan out our action for the following day. And each time as IC, he would close those meetings with these words. And when I stepped up as incident commander, I used those same words to close out those same meetings. Darren Mills, when he became IC, did the same. Mike Strawn also. And our current IC, Steve Watkins, uses those same exact words. And I know Alan, he would want us to do this as soon as possible, as soon as we can. Get back to work. Thank you all for me being here today. Let me honor my friend. Thank you.
Our next presenter is another longtime colleague of Alan's in his role as the Deputy Fire Management Officer at Yosemite National Park. He's also one of Alan's teammates from the South Central Sierra Incident Management Team, Darren Mills.
Good afternoon, family, friends, and colleagues. I have had the privilege of having both a professional and personal relationship with Alan for well over 25 years, and with his wife Martha for a better part of that. I am honored to have this opportunity to share in this celebration of Alan's life and in this collective so long from all of us. My professional relationship with Alan changed at times over the years. Alan was a colleague at times, a supervisor at times, and later after his retirement, a subordinate. Through those different dynamics, he was always a true leader, team player, and mentor. Alan's mentorship had a profound influence on my professional growth and, more importantly, my growth as an individual. It has become so very apparent from the outpouring of love and support for Martha that Alan had such a remarkable positive influence on so many individuals within the fire service and within the local community. I spent the better part of my career in fire management at Yosemite National Park, which shares a boundary with the Stanislaus National Forest, and more specifically with the Groveland District, where Alan worked up until his retirement in 2010. Because of that, Alan and I had many occasions to collaborate on projects, supported a cooperatively staffed fire engine at Hodgdon Meadows, and we supported each other during many local emergency incidents. Outside of the day-to-day work, Alan and I began working together as operations section chiefs in 2001 on the South Central Sierra Incident Management Team. When Alan eventually became the incident commander of the team, he started to plan for the succession of the team into the future. As time went on, he had identified me as an incident commander trainee, which is something that I had never considered. So as Mike said earlier, he was always looking for people to work outside their comfort zone, to set goals and achieve those goals. So once again, Alan was quietly encouraging others to set goals. When Alan retired, I became the deputy IC working for David Cooper, as David had mentioned. Alan took a couple of years off from the team, and I'd found out recently from one of our current team members that Alan did so because he wanted to give David and I an opportunity to make the team our own. And he didn't want to have that unnecessary influence or for us to feel pressured in continuing with the ways that Alan had. So I didn't realize that until recently, as I mentioned. So once again, Alan showed his true leadership. After the couple of years that Alan took off, David and I were able to persuade Alan to come back and serve as a liaison officer with the team, a position that he continued to perform through my tenure as the IC of the team and up until his passing. I believe that the success of the South Central Sierra IMT, now known as Team 14, over the last 2 decades can be directly attributed to the vision that Alan had. He provided the leadership necessary for the succession of the team. And I should also note that David Cooper, as he mentioned, he worked for the Sierra National Forest as a district FMO and also shared a boundary with Alan and I. So all 3 of us shared a common boundary. In our strong relationships that we had developed over the years directly benefited the Forest Service, the Park Service, and the team. Many of you remember an unfortunate loss of life of a young firefighter that occurred on a local fire in the Tuolumne River drainage on the Groveland District in 2004. After that unfortunate event, Alan experienced the full range of emotions, which is to be expected. He spent a lot of time reflecting and pondering many things and how he should move forward with his career. Understandably, that incident had a significant impact on Alan, and I wasn't sure what he was going to do. Fortunately for all of us, he decided to keep moving forward with his position on the forest as well as with the team. One of the first steps that he took after he made his decision was to begin speaking about the accident publicly at informal and formal interagency meetings. Alan expressed to me that it was an important part of his healing process. Additionally, Alan developed an informal staff ride of the accident location to share what had occurred and the lessons learned on that incident with other firefighters. I very much respected his willingness to put himself out there to educate others and to bring a real human element to the job. I personally took a lot away from Alan throughout that process. And the reason I bring this up is that in 2014 in a fire in Yosemite, I was in command and had a similar incident that resulted in the loss of a firefighter's life. I went through a very similar experience as Alan had. And after I had had a day or 2 off and detached from the incident, Alan was the first friend to pick up the phone and give me a call and share his empathy and offer his support for me if I needed it going forward. That was an offer that I took advantage of on numerous occasions, His mentorship undoubtedly helped me work through my own emotions in dealing with that tragic event. We had many meaningful conversations that I think were cathartic for both of us. You heard me say that Alan was a leader, mentor, colleague, supervisor at times, and a subordinate at times. However, most importantly, he was my friend, and he was a great friend. He was always selfless and willing to help me and others out in any way he could. Whenever I saw him, he made sure to have a jar of his pickles or pickled green beans for me, and for me especially, because he knew I didn't want to share with the rest of the team. Sorry, team. I love those things. He also had a sweet tooth, and he always brought a tub of red vines to the fires for our team to share. And I, once again, especially hit that tub hard, and he always told me where he hid it when he put it away. He always offered tips on fishing tackle and techniques, whether they were solicited or not, and for the most part, they were good tips. Once we had demobilized from a fire, if we were going to go to a hotel prior to traveling home, the two of us would often have a Corona together and reflect on the assignment. As you heard Mike say earlier, my wife Bonnie and I had several opportunities to travel with and spend time in some great places with Alan and Martha and the rest of our traveling clan. Bonnie and I will always treasure those memories and are so thankful for having made lifetime friends. Alan loved nothing more than getting together with good friends, sharing stories, experiences, and always a cold Corona with lime. So in closing, I have an ask for all of you. In the spirit of celebrating Alan's life, I ask that each one of you reach out to a friend or friends that you haven't talked to in a while, just to say hello. The week that I learned of Alan's passing, I made numerous calls to folks that I used to be close to and who I knew would want to know the sad news. What I realized after those calls is that reconnecting with those friends lifted my spirit. You can't have enough friends, and life is too short, so please reach out and enjoy your friendships like Alan would have wanted. Alan, I want to thank you for your many years of friendship. And having such a positive impact on my life. I will miss you. Martha, we're all so sorry for your loss. But I hope that you take some comfort in knowing how many friends that Alan had and the impact that he had on them. Martha, we love you, and we stand with you during this difficult time. And I appreciate having the opportunity to share my thoughts and my relationship with Alan. Thank you.
Our next presenter, Jerry Mcgowan, wanted to be introduced as just Jerry. But I want to add some context prior to his remarks. Jerry and Alan progressed through their fire careers in fire management together on the Stanislaus National Forest. Jerry retired as the Forest Fire Management Officer for the entire Stanislaus National Forest. At that time, he was and continues to be a national Type 1 incident commander, and he's also the fire chief for the Tuolumne Rancheria Tribal Fire Department. Here is just Jerry.
Good afternoon, everybody. Alan. Alan was a good fireman, just like you've heard here with many of us folks there. Again, one of the things is being the foreman on a hotshot crew, the engine captain, prevention and battalion, and all those things. You know, he did a great, great job. He was a very good fire tactician and well respected. So with that, he also had a event there on the Tuolumne Fire with the passing of Viva Shaiki. And not only did, like Darren explained about that event, he took and made that staff ride, and for everybody that's gone through that staff ride to this year has continued on there and gotten value-added training. Wins, everybody, and I don't care whether you're a new firefighter or an old firefighter, you can see difference patterns in those wins and see all kinds of things. So there's a lot of good training that occurred there. And so for that, I appreciate that. I think that's good stuff. And no doubt with the South Central Sierra team or Team 14, however you want to look at it, he loved that. He loved every second of that, no doubt. But I'm here to tell you about fishing. Because Alan and I went fishing quite a lot. And you know, when we went fishing, the first thing we do is we get in the boat and we're getting our stuff all together, and then the line's going, right? But if Alan caught that first fish, he'd go, "That's one." And you're like, "Oh, you want to play, huh? We're going to play here." So then it was competition the whole dang time. That whole day it was we would talk. We would BS about life, and we would try to solve all the world's problems and the Forest Service's problems and everybody else's problems. But we were fishing. And at that time when we were fishing, most of the time, and this is not bragging, I'd whoop him. But you know what? When I didn't whip him, he wouldn't say anything. And we'd be loading the boat up and everything, but he's waiting for me to say, "You won." You know, I tell you, that is something where you're going, "Okay, fine, you won." And then he'd smile and walk away. One of the things that I know that he took pride in is taking, and I have not met him, but in his nephews, fishing. That's big, that's huge. Every year, that was huge. I heard that all the time. And then one thing, when he was getting a little wild with his casting up there in the back deck or in the front deck, I would remind him the time that he took Martha fishing and caught her with a topwater bait in her head. Yeah, right there on the noggin. I remember that. He had to pull out a little tournament to take her to the hospital to get the hooks out of her head. You know, so I would remind him about that also. And I remember a time when there was a operations chief at the time was on a fire in 2008 that was talking about, it was a station fire, and it was a fast-moving fire down in Southern California and all that. And Alan and I were parked in the middle of the lake just sitting there listening to this story from this operations chief that was talking all about that fire. And we just sat there and just listened and stuff. And that was pretty cool. That was a good day for me. And I'm sure for Alan also. So with that, all that stuff that I talk about, you know, we developed a good friendship. Did we agree all the time? Nope. But we would argue on the deck of that boat, and then sometimes it just at the end of the day, that was fishing. And for that, I'll miss my fishing buddy.
Craig Conklin is our final presenter of Reflections and Remembrances. He's a retired battalion chief with the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, affectionately known as CAL FIRE, and is a colleague of Alan's also not only from the fire ground, but also from the high school classroom. And I'm sure Craig will give us more information about that.
Good afternoon, everybody. As John said, my name is Craig Conklin, and I worked for CAL FIRE for a number of years. Alan and I taught Wildland fire science at Sonora High School together. Alan retired from the Forest Service about the same time I left CAL FIRE. We'd known each other for probably 10 years through that professional connection. Before I left CAL FIRE, I'd been tapped by Sonora High School to help put together and teach a new wildland fire technology program for their junior and senior students. We thought it'd be a good idea if we had representation on the cadre from the major fire entities in Tuolumne County, the Forest Service, CAL FIRE, and local government. By doing that, it also meant I might get a few days off because those other guys would have to teach too. Well, Craig Peterson, who had recently retired from Sonora City, stepped up and represented local government. We had a couple of names we were tossing around from Forest Service, and Alan's name was one of those. As fate would have it, I was shopping in Save Mart and ran into Alan and Martha that day. "Hey, Alan, I've been wanting to talk to you." And I gave him the spiel. The first words out of Alan's mouth were, "Do I get paid, and am I going to get some days off?" Alan was certainly a man we could all relate to. With the interview out of the way, we spent quite a few days that summer, unpaid I might add, preparing the curriculum for that fall. Alan also took it upon himself, again unpaid, to get a high school teaching credential. The first day of class came in August 2011. Now, I'd taught community college classes before, and I'd managed the inmate training program for CAL FIRE at Sierra Conservation Center. But nothing had prepared myself or any of us for teaching high school. That first week, I had an epiphany. When you teach college students, they want to be in class and they act like they want to be in class. When you teach inmates, they act like they want to be in class even though they don't want to be in class. High school students don't want to be in class and they don't act like they want to be in class. I think in that first 2 weeks, we lost about a third of our class as we tried to introduce them to the regimentation that is part of wildland firefighting. As one of the students explained to me, we thought you were going to put us in a bus, haul us out to a fire, and we'd go put it out. That was the extent of it. We learned quickly that we were teaching more about life skills and work ethic than we were teaching about actual fire science. Despite the challenges, Alan never wavered. Not once in the 5 years we taught together. I would be lying, though, if I didn't say we had second thoughts. There were plenty of times after class when Alan, Craig Peterson, our boss Carol Travis, and I would sit down and have to have a stress debrief. Often this was accompanied from something that Alan had picked out of his garden, he'd pickled or canned. And when we left, a bag of lettuce usually went with us. I don't want to paint the wrong picture here, though, about that class and about what we were doing. What overshadowed all of those challenges was the successes that came from those classes. Thanks to Alan's contacts and efforts, graduating students who were 18 years old and wanted to try firefighting were pack tested by the Forest Service the day after the class ended. It's kind of like the NFL draft. All the engine captains would gather around and watch the kids go around the track. If they were successful with that pack test, the Stanislaus would hire them for 2 weeks to give them some additional training. Many of them would continue to work throughout the summer, and more than a few of them became seasonals for the fire agencies. And more than a few of those are still working. Some of them are in the audience right now. In 5 years, almost a third of our students went to work for fire agencies for at least a season or two, thanks to Alan Johnson. Now, I said all that to say this, and to emphasize what Alan was to so many of us. We fight fires when we put them out. They'd actually eventually go out by themselves sometimes. We relive our challenges, those challenges of the fire, and we high-five our victories. But fires do go out, and trees and brush grow back. Houses are rebuilt. In a generation, the memory of much of the evidence of our firefighting efforts are gone, forever forgotten. But when we change a life, when we touch somebody, through teaching or through leading, we make a difference that transcends time. If what we give is good, it will be passed on to the next generation and the next. That which we give in these terms lives beyond us. It is really what our life's work should be about. What Alan gave to those students and to many of us here today will live forever. I think I can speak for Alan when I say that the 5 years we spent teaching together wasn't easy. It wasn't even fun, and certainly wasn't glamorous, but it was as important as any work we did in our careers. In the end, it wasn't about money, and it wasn't about time off. It was about something that has no comparison in monetary terms or hours of works or benefits. It was about doing something much greater. Now, I'm a Christian, and I believe in God, and I thanked him many times for putting Alan in Save-Mart that day in 2011. Thank you, Lord, for Alan and for letting him make a difference in so many lives.
Well, thank you, Craig. And will you now please read the Wildland Firefighter Prayer?
Please bow your heads. Lord, as we take the challenge of wildland fire to protect our community from situations dire, we accept the outcome be what it may, for our efforts are valiant every day. We staff the engine, aircraft, and crew, and our honest work is always true. Give us safety and watchful eye. Help us see success of the try. Watch our crews and closest friends, and let us reach a good day's end. Should we fall, Lord, bless our family. Let them know our love eternally. For though we know the work is hard, we do it not for public reward. Our love of home is always there. This is why my family is here. Thank you. Amen.
Three items will now be presented to Alan's family: the Wildland Firefighter statue and 2 Forest Service flags. But allow me to give you some brief background first on the statue. Out of the tragedy of the 1994 South Canyon fire in Colorado, in which 14 wildland firefighters were overrun and lost their lives, arose the Wildland Firefighter Foundation. It's headquartered in Boise, Idaho, and is not associated with any government agency. It's privately funded by donations from firefighters, their families, and friends. Their focus is to provide support to the families of those who died or were injured in the line of duty while fighting wildland fires. They swing into action immediately, and their support lasts as long as the family needs it, years if necessary. A number of years ago, the foundation commissioned the creation of a larger-than-life-size wildland firefighter statue. I first saw it just outside the Boise airport. I believe it now stands at the Wildland Firefighters Memorial Garden at the National Interagency Fire Center in Boise. The statue to be presented now is a replica of the statue there and is a memento in honor of, in memory of, and in tribute to the services Alan provided to the citizens of the United States of America. Assisting in the presentations is Becca Sands, Fuels Management Specialist on the Calaveras Ranger District, Stanislaus National Forest. Now I want to tell you about all 3 of the presentations briefly, so that the presentations can then proceed without any further interruptions. The Wildland Firefighter statue will be presented to Martha Johnson by Pat Lang, Fire Management Officer on the Groveland Ranger District. A Forest Service flag will be presented to Steve Johnson, Alan's brother, by the Forest Supervisor of the Stanislaus National Forest, Jason Kaiken. And a Forest Service flag will be presented to Lila Johnson, accepting on behalf of Raymond Johnson, Alan's brother, who was unable to be here today. It will be presented by Stanislaus Deputy Forest Supervisor, Beth Martinez. Now would you all please rise for the bell ceremony. It's going to be conducted by South Central Sierra Incident Management Team 14 incident commanders, past and present. Steve Watkins, Mike Strawn, Darren Mills, and David Cooper. It will be followed by the last call.
In the past, as firefighters begin their tour of duty, it was the bell that signaled the beginning of that day shift. Through the day and night, each alarm was sounded by a bell, which summoned these brave souls to fight fires and put their life in jeopardy for the good of their fellow man. And when fire was out and the alarm had come to an end, it was the bell that signaled to all the completion of that call. And when a firefighter had died, it was mournful toll. The bell solemnly announced of a comrade's passing. We utilize these traditions as a symbol which reflects honor and respect on those who have given so much and who have served so well. To symbolize the devotion of these brave souls had for their duty, a special signal 3 times, 3 rings 3 times each, will represent the end of a comrade's duty and that they will be returning to quarters. And so, to he has selflessly devoted his life for the good of his fellow man, his task completed, his duty well done. To our comrade, his last alarm, Alan Wesley Johnson, is going home.
All units, Stanislaus. Clear the channel for a last call for retired Division Chief Alan Johnson. Retired Division 4 Alan Johnson, Stanislaus. Retired Division 4 Alan Johnson, Stanislaus. All units, Stanislaus. This is the last call for fallen firefighter Alan Johnson. We'd like to thank you for your dedicated service and your continuous sacrifices made for the community. All units, Stanislaus acknowledges fallen firefighter Alan Johnson is out of service. Godspeed and farewell. KME-24.
In front of us here, we have a folded flag of the United States. And presenting it to Martha Johnson will be Regional Forester Jennifer Eberlein. Martha has asked that I read this statement from her and her family. She says that she and her family would like to thank the U.S. Forest Service, the Wildland Firefighters Foundation, and especially Beth Martinez and Shandy Bearden, and all the people behind them that helped help them through this whole ordeal. She says they were our personal angels. She would also like to thank Rush Creek Lodge. They went beyond being an employer. They've been helpful and supportive as only a family could be. Martha says that with her whole heart, she thanks those that came today, those of you that came today, and those that could not be here and are watching from around the country. It's wonderful and comforting to know how many lives Alan touched. Alan loved the fire service, and it would make him so happy to see you all here who loved and admired him for it. Thank you for all that you do for us. We know how amazing you all are at your jobs and how hard you work. God bless you and keep you safe. I mentioned at the beginning that Alan and I had worked together for quite a while. We worked together for 10 years on the Groveland Ranger District. We had different roles and responsibilities. I was the district ranger, and he was the district fire management officer, Division 4, in charge of the district fire organization and fuels management program. When we had a fire and Alan was on scene, I knew that the fire would be put out in a professional way that considered the values at risk and respected the natural and cultural resources. And importantly, and most importantly, that our people would be safe. I counted on and trusted Alan's advice on all things fire and in other program areas too. He was a real leader among our team of program leaders. I was always impressed and overjoyed during his frequent successes and was bewildered and crushed along with him on his darkest day. We've heard today about the solid foundation that Alan laid and the positive impact he had on so many people. Those people stand on that solid foundation and are better able to move forward, guided by what they learned from Alan. There's one more thing that we heard about Alan. Alan loved to fight fire, but he also knew how to relax with a cold beer and a good cigar. If that's your style of relaxation too, Alan's family is offering you a cigar with a special cigar band commemorating Alan and this memorial service. You'll find them as you exit from this stadium, but you'll have to come up with your own beverage. Fly high and fish on.